Hey, what is up, YouTube? Welcome back to Lions Den Investments and Reviews. In today's episode, I wanted to talk about the crypto bear market strategy that I have going right now, and what I'm going to do moving forward, transitioning into a possible bear market, and then we're going to look at the crypto 2022 news that's coming out right now, and whether or not we technically are in a bear market at the current moment. So. Just getting started before we really dive into any of the articles and look at the macro level of what's going on right now in the blockchain space. I want to show you a couple things here, okay, guys? Because you need to keep this in mind. There's a lot of technical traders out there who are just, they're zoomed in and they're looking at these shorter time frames, and it's creating a lot of fear because they're emotionally charged, right? So when they look at the price, they see the price going down, and because of that, everything's magnified. So when you're listening to a lot of these day traders and people who are playing with a lot of leverage, when the prices start dropping like this, they're so zoomed in that their opinions are purely based on emotion a lot of times. And if not, and you get these better traders out there, a lot of times what they'll do is just sit on the sidelines. That's the last thing you want to do in a bear market, okay? Especially right now. And you have to change your mindset, okay? What do I mean by that? Well, take Bitcoin for instance, okay? So I've got the daily chart on Bitcoin right here. And as you can see, and this just kind of highlights what I'm talking about when it comes to being so zoomed in on stuff. So if you look at this, right, we're on a regular chart right now. If you look at Bitcoin, you're just looking at these at the price movement and the price action, and you're going, holy shit, like we're about ready to go into a bear market if we drop below like $30,000. 30,000 is my magic number right now. That would officially confirm that we are in a bear market. I would say we're already there. Because I mean, guys, unless we get a major pump and a rally going and break this downward trend, I just don't see any way that we go back into a bull market. Unless, of course, there's some type of a black swan event, which could potentially happen here, especially with like Ukraine and the China and Taiwan situation. We've got Biden who's moving troops out there right now to the uh, the area where Russia is basically thinking about overthrowing the president of Ukraine. There's a lot of stuff going on that could create black swan events, right? Which essentially would create more fear in the markets. It would disrupt supply chains, that kind of thing. And then, we'll basically see something similar to what we saw in March 2020, where they just fire up the print presses, pull back on the Fed's rate hikes that they had in plan, and then off we go with trillions of dollars being pumped into the market again. That would create, I think, a bull rally, but you know nobody knows for sure what's going to happen there, so I don't really pay attention to that. But what I want to pay attention to here, especially in the digital assets, with blockchain, is with Bitcoin, for instance. You have to change your mindset. So what you want to do, guys, is look at Bitcoin kind of like your favorite shoe. Okay, if you go to a shoe store and you see a shoe that's on sale, or maybe not on sale, but it's priced at like $160, right, for a pair of shoes that you want. You want this shoe really, really bad, but you're not willing to pay $160 for it, right? Well, what do? You wait for a better price and then buy at a lower price because the shoe remains the same. The shoe will always be the shoe. Kind of like Bitcoin's always going to be Bitcoin. Ethereum's always going to be Ethereum, right? The price will change. It'll go up and down. It'll fluctuate. Uh, it'll go up in bull markets and then it'll come down in bear markets. So what I'm trying to tell you here is if you zoom out and you go to like a logarithmic scale, I've only got us, again, we're kind of short term here. So I've only got us on a scale, on that regular chart there. I only had us going back to like February of 2021. Okay. Now I've zoomed out on a logarithmic scale, which basically just shows you it shows you everything in a much more like compressed manner, so you can see what the trends are. Okay. Now look at this. If we go back here, all the way on Bitcoin, back to its early inception, like when it first really started pumping in price, we can go all the way back to 2011. But look at the trend. Look at this. Even though, on the shorter time frames, you see the price going up and down and dropping and swinging, and you got all these crazy articles coming out and stuff like that. Look at the trend. I mean, we only dipped below this line maybe once, and that was back March 12th of 2020. So if you know the trend, okay, and the adoption rate is growing at an exponential uh, level, okay, or an exponential pace, and everything's exponential, and the trend's still up, even a decade later. What's to say that trend's? I mean, it's never broken below that blue line there that I'm showing you. Okay, it's never broken below that. To me, guys, that tells me Bitcoin, as far as price, it might change, but Bitcoin's not going away. Okay, neither is Ethereum. Ethereum, it's the same thing. Like if we look at Ethereum, check this out. And this is what you need to do is change your mindset when you're investing in this stuff, and don't focus so much on, oh my God, we're in a bear market, right? Don't focus on that, because even if you're in a bear market and the asset itself is a good asset, to invest in, the technology itself is there to stay. Why on earth would you be afraid of going in and buying it? Especially right now. That's what all the big banks are doing. That's what all the institutions are doing. That's what the billionaires are doing. And that's what I'm doing. However, I'm not a trader right now. Okay. I do, occasionally I'll do some swing trades and stuff like that. But since my mindset has changed, and I'm looking at this more long term, say over the next 3 or 4 years, maybe even 10 years or 20 years, because I've changed my mindset, you got to change your strategy as well. So one thing you can do, guys, is stake your cryptos. Okay, there's so many different ways to make passive income. Uh, there's projects out there right now like Hydra, for instance. Okay, I'll just pull up this chart here real quick, because you can stake Hydra, and the return on Hydra, guys, you can get like right now like a 45 to 50% return on your cryptos just staking Hydra. That's just one of them. Okay, you got Matic or Polygon. You can stake that one. You can stake Osmosis. The list goes on. But if you go to like stakingrewards.com, I'll leave a link in the description here for that, so you can go check it out. But basically, that site has got all sorts of different cryptos that they track, monitor for you, and they give you like the interest rate, returns on them, shows you like how much you can make compounding year over year, that sort of thing. You can do that. You can do yield farming, lending pools, and DeFi. Now that stuff's a little bit more high risk, so I don't like to take a whole lot of risk, especially in a bear market, with say like riskier platforms in yield farming and whatnot. I would rather play it safe and go with projects that have been around for a little while, that are giving you good returns on your investment. Because guys, the thing is right now, if we go to the Fear and Greed Index, I'll just pull that up real quick. This is my website, academyofcrypto.com. Go to this website. Okay, I'll leave a link in the description for this as well. But you can click on Fear and Greed Index. That'll take you over here, so you can see what the current fear is. Okay, we're extreme fear. All right, down at 12. That's like some of the lowest, levels of fear that we've seen, or the highest levels of fear that we've seen in this market for some time. And to me, that's just, that's a buying opportunity in itself right there. Just knowing what I know about the assets in crypto, especially with Bitcoin and Ethereum, and what I just showed you there on the logarithmic scales, showing you the overall adoption and exponential rate of return and the trend and where all that's headed, to me, I'm licking my chops. You know what I mean? Like I'm frothing at the mouth right now like a damn lion. I'm going to rip the jugular out of this market, especially in a bear market, because the prices are so much cheaper. And that's what you want. The moves you make right now, guys, are what's going to determine how much money you make and wealth you create for yourself moving forward. Because we could go into a crypto winter here for 3 years, but guess what? The beautiful thing is that's going to turn around. And when it turns around and we go back into a bull market, you've set yourself up so that you're making, probably 10 times what you made this last bull market or this last parabolic move that we had in 2021. That's how you create wealth. And the best way to do that, again, I always say, stake it to make it, okay? And then let that compound, because you can accumulate throughout the bear market and you're letting your money work for you without having to trade or, look at charts and try to determine where it's going. And the more you do that, your risk just goes up. And I want to reduce my risk as much as possible. So there's that. Now, look at some of these articles, okay? They're talking about forget a Bitcoin winter, a crypto ice age might be coming as the Fed ends the easy money era. And the reason why I'm showing you these articles, because they look fear-mongering. They're going to create a lot of fear in the market. People are going to start selling off because they don't have the proper mindset. You see, with the mindset that I just told you about, you're going to look at this article now and you're going to look at it and smile because you're getting a fire sale discount. And this is just, to me, it's just like, oh my God, this is when you want to buy. This is when you want to invest. So to me, these articles don't do anything. Okay, they don't create any fear for me. That's why I always say on my channel, have no fear. Here's another one. Okay, investor with 50 years of experience says U.S. stocks are set to plunge uncontrollably. Okay, that may be true. And if you look at the Dow Jones. So if we go over here, we pull up the Dow Jones. Okay. Now I've got this on a logarithmic scale. You can see the trend is up. Okay. But look, we're already falling below support. Okay, this support line right here. You can see we had a lot of demand and price right around these areas, dating all the way back here to like April 2021. Well, look at the price right now. It's being propped up, of course, and it took a bounce off this support line. But unless they print up a bunch of money, this thing is going to continue to fall, especially if they raise interest rates. And that brings me back here to this article. He's talking about, the investor with 50 years of experience says U.S. stocks are set to plunge uncontrollably. His name's Jeremy Grantham, and he's right. Right now we're in a super bubble of all assets, and that's pretty much what he says too, and expects at least like a 70% drop to bring markets down to fair value. Okay, again, if you understand what I was saying about changing your mindset with cryptos, you do the same thing with the traditional stocks. Okay, but right now I wouldn't even take a look at traditional stocks. Number one, because the prices are way too high. Number two, your rate of return compared to staking cryptos is it's a laughing joke. Like I think the most you're probably going to get from a low risk investment in traditional markets would be buying like an index fund of some sort, going with like your 40-60 traditional asset allocation through like a 401k, that sort of thing. But you're only looking at like 10, maybe 15% return if you're lucky. And that's in a bull market for the year. Now, going in and staking with the cryptos, I just showed you one over here, Hydra, that's going to give you for the year, you're gonna make 45 to 50% on your money. Where else in traditional markets can you do that? You can't. So, at least for me, until the markets come down to fair value, I'm not even looking at stocks. I'm staying with the blockchain space, because regardless what they tell you as far as, these massive sell-offs, that money, it might be reallocated to some traditional markets in derivatives for really, that would be about it. And the treasury market to keep the bonds propped up. But that money is going to come right back into cryptos. Okay? And when it does, you want to position yourself ahead of that, because that's where you make your wealth. You get in on the bottom of these massive crypto crashes, okay? One piece of advice I'll give you real quick is that if you look at any type of altcoin, in a crypto crash, usually they're going to drop, just like here with Hydra as a great example. They're usually going to drop on the altcoin market anywhere between like 80 to 85%. As you can see here with Hydra, we've dropped 88% so far. And this is just one example, but I'm showing you Hydra because that's one I'm looking at for creating some passive income with staking amongst a list of others that I have on my list. But that's a perfect buying opportunity, okay? Because from here, the price really can't drop much lower. It can only go higher. And if it drops a little bit lower, okay, fine, I'll just double down, and accumulate more. Because eventually it's going to go back up. So, that's the way you want to invest in a bear market. Um, Now, here's the last one here. Bank of Russia calls for a full ban on crypto. Now, if you read this article, it's pretty interesting because if you look at the headline, you're thinking, oh my God, they're going to ban cryptos altogether. No, they're not doing that. If you read this article, which I'll leave a link in the description for this as well, what they're saying is for the big institutions, they don't want to allow the big institutions and banks um, to allow for like crypto trading, mining, and usage for illegal purposes, right? Um, Individuals, though, can still do that. So this is geared more towards the central banks and banks as a whole in the country of Russia that they're trying to ban cryptos with. So, I want to be clear about that as I show you this article because if you didn't know any better and you just read this article and just looked at the headline, you'd be like, oh God, Russia's banning it altogether. No, that's not the case. So some of that's probably FUD a little bit, misleading when it comes to the headlines. And that's the thing you need to keep in mind as you look at these articles coming out, people on YouTube, trying to give you a hopium, basically, that the market's going to go back up. It might, but at this point, I would say it probably isn't unless we get a black swan type event. And we'll have to see what the Fed does, okay, moving forward with the rate hikes. But I can tell you right now, I don't think they're going to be able to do it, okay? They're going to have to print up more money because we operate in a debt-based system. So that means that for every dollar that's printed, okay, say from like last year or even this year, the following year, you're going to have to create at least like 4 or 5 more dollars to that $1 to keep the whole thing going. Okay. So, if you just take that into consideration, over the last 2 years, we printed up what, 25, almost $30 trillion. Well, think about what we're going to have to print up over the next year, 2022 and 2023. You're going to have to at least probably, I'd say, double that on the M1 and M2 money supply, okay, especially when it comes to credit, just to keep the whole thing going so that the banks don't collapse because they have to make money on interest from money that they lend out to others in the form of loans. So again, guys, this is it's very complex with the traditional systems, but we have an alternative now, an alternative system with blockchain, and the technology is there. You can utilize it right now to your advantage. So again, as I always say, have no fear, okay? With that said, been pretty busy. I want to tell you about a project real quick that I'm working on here in 2022. I'll give you more information on that as we get closer to like getting some of this stuff done. But I kept telling you the trend's going to be NFTs, metaverse, and some of these other like meme tokens, for example. But specifically with NFTs, I've got a couple projects that I've been trying to put together for art, right? So I've got an artist that I'm working with, and I'm trying to get him into the NFT side of stuff with his art company. And part of that, I've got a couple pieces of art that I'm having him put together for me. And when I get those, I'll show them to you. But I'm going to probably turn those into a couple NFTs and then help him and whoever he's got on his side with his company get started into the crypto space and help him transition over into the digital world with art uh, digital media, animation, that kind of stuff, because he can utilize that for NFTs. And then I'm gonna probably create some of my own NFTs as well. So I'll keep you guys posted on how that goes, and I'll show you what some of the artwork that we've got going right now, because this guy is very talented, and he can do a lot of stuff when it comes to like creating good quality artwork for your images, when you put those out there for, say, like an NFT. Okay, so if you're somebody who's getting into NFTs for the first time and you want to create a couple, you're going to need some artwork or image, uh, digital media or something of that sort, for your NFT. And one good way to do that is to find people with these kind of talents and services to help you with that. All right, it brings uniqueness to the NFT, and rarity, and that's what NFTs are based on, and what brings value to those. So I just wanted to throw that out there and tell you that basically that's what I'm doing, and I'll keep you updated and posted as we move forward with that. But again, you know, if we're in a bear market here, we're in a bear market, and yeah, that's really about it, guys. I'll shoot another video here soon, and with that said, you guys take care.